Taewoo wiped the grease from his hands and stepped back to admire his work. The cargo hauler's engine hummed smoothly now, no longer making that terrible grinding noise that had brought the Venlathi merchant to his repair bay. He smiled to himself. Another job done well. Meridian Station was busy today, as it always was. Thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds moved through the massive trading hub. Ships came and went every hour, carrying goods across the galaxy. Taewoo had called this place home for 3 years now, ever since he left Earth behind. He didn't talk much about why he left. Some things were better forgotten. He walked around the cargo hauler one last time, checking every panel and connection. The Venlathi would be back in an hour to pick up their ship. Everything needed to be perfect. Taewoo took pride in his work even if nobody else cared. His small repair shop in the lower docking bays wasn't fancy, but he had a reputation for honesty and good work. That's when he heard it. A small sound like a whimper coming from inside the cargo hold. Taewoo froze. The cargo hold should be empty. The Venlathi had unloaded everything before bringing the ship in for repairs. He listened carefully. There it was again, a soft crying sound that made his chest tighten. He grabbed his toolkit and climbed into the cargo hold. The space was dark and cold. His flashlight cut through the shadows as he moved deeper inside. Behind a stack of empty crates, something glowed faintly. Blue light pulsed in the darkness, weak and flickering. Taewoo's breath caught in his throat. Huddled in the corner was a child, but not a human child. Her skin was crystalline, transparent in places with light moving beneath the surface like water. She was small, maybe the size of a 6-year-old human girl. Her whole body trembled, and the light inside her flickered between blue and red like a warning signal. "Hey," Taewoo said softly, kneeling down slowly. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The child looked up at him with eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Tears ran down her crystalline cheeks, leaving trails that glowed faintly. She tried to speak, but only broken sounds came out. Her hands moved in quick, desperate patterns that Taewoo didn't understand. He recognized her species from the station's diversity guides. Valari. They were rare, almost never seen outside their home systems. The Valari were telepathic, peaceful, and extremely private. What was a Valari child doing alone in a cargo hold? Taewoo sat down on the floor, making himself less threatening. He pulled out his water bottle and offered it to her. The child stared at it, confused. Of course, Valari probably didn't drink water the same way humans did. He felt stupid. "My name is Taewoo," he said gently, pointing to himself. "Taewoo. Can you tell me your name?" The child's crystalline form flickered brighter for a moment. She pointed to herself and made a sound like wind chimes singing. Taewoo had no idea how to pronounce that. He tried anyway and failed completely. The child almost smiled just for a second. She held up her hands and made gestures again. This time Taewoo watched more carefully. She pointed to herself, then made a sign that looked like a flower opening. She repeated it several times, desperately trying to communicate. "Hana?" Taewoo guessed, remembering that the gesture reminded him of the Korean word for flower. The child's eyes widened. She nodded quickly, her colors shifting to a hopeful yellow. "Hana," he repeated, and she nodded again. Maybe it wasn't her real name, but it was something they could both use. Hana's hands moved again, more frantically now. She made a gesture that clearly meant mother, then pointed around wildly, her colors turning panicked red. She was looking for someone. Her mother. Taewoo's heart sank. A lost child, alone on a massive station with millions of beings. This was bad, very bad. Valari children bonded deeply with their parents. Separation caused them real physical harm. He could see it now. The way her crystalline skin cracked slightly at the edges, the way her inner light flickered weakly. Okay, Taewoo said, trying to stay calm even though his mind was racing. "We'll find your mother. I promise." He reached out his hand slowly. Hana looked at it, uncertain. Then, very carefully, she placed her small crystalline hand in his. Her touch was cool and smooth, like polished glass. The contact seemed to calm her a little. Her colors shifted from red to orange. Taewoo's communicator buzzed. His friend Jiwon was calling. She worked station security and usually checked in with him during her patrols. He answered, still holding Hana's hand. "Taewoo, I'm nearby. Want to grab food later?" Jiwon's cheerful voice came through. "Jiwon, I need your help. Can you come to Bay 17? It's important." The cheerfulness vanished from her voice. "What's wrong?" "I found a lost child, Valari. She needs help." There was a long pause. "Taewoo, you need to call this in to station authorities right now. Don't get involved in alien family matters." The laws are complicated and she's scared and hurt, G1. Please just come look. Another pause. Then a sigh. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Don't do anything stupid. While he waited, Taewoo tried to make Hana more comfortable. He gave her his jacket to sit on and turned on more light so the cargo hold wasn't so dark. She watched him with those strange, beautiful eyes, occasionally making small hand gestures that he tried to understand. G1 arrived exactly 5 minutes later. She was a tough woman, ex-military with sharp eyes that missed nothing. When she saw Hana, those eyes went soft immediately. "Oh no," she whispered. "How long has she been here?" "I don't know." "She can't speak or won't." "I think she's looking for her mother." G1 knelt down beside Hana, moving slowly and carefully. She pulled out her security tablet and ran a quick scan. Her face grew darker as she read the results. According to station records, no Valari have reported a missing child. In fact, there are only 3 Valari registered on the station right now, all adults on diplomatic business. "That can't be right," Taewoo said. "She's here. She's real. Someone has to be looking for her." "I'll check detention records and medical centers," G1 said, already typing. "But Taewoo, listen to me. If you start investigating this on your own, you could get in serious trouble. Interfering in alien family matters can land you in a council prison. The laws exist for good reasons." Taewoo looked at Hana. She was watching them both, trying to understand what they were saying. Her colors had faded to a dull gray, and the cracks in her crystalline skin looked worse. "What happens if nobody claims her?" he asked quietly. G1 didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was sad. "Station protocols say she goes to a holding facility until her people can be contacted. But Taewoo, Valari children don't do well in separation. Without her mother's telepathic presence, she could—" She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Taewoo made his decision. He stood up and looked G1 in the eye. "I'm going to help her find her mother. I don't care about the laws or the consequences. Look at her. She's dying. Taewoo, I know what you're going to say, but I can't just walk away." "I won't." G1 studied his face for a long moment. Then she sighed and shook her head. "You're the most stubborn human I've ever met. Fine. I'll help where I can, but I have to keep my job. I'll look through official channels quietly." "Thank you." As Jiwoo left, Taewoo sat back down beside Hana. He noticed something he'd missed before. Her crystalline skin had patterns in it like maps. They swirled and moved, forming shapes that looked almost like star systems. Valari children, he remembered reading once, developed navigation patterns in their crystalline matrix. It helped them find their way home. If he could understand these patterns, maybe he could find where Hana came from. Maybe he could find her mother. He pulled out his datapad and started taking pictures of the patterns. This was going to be difficult. He was just a mechanic, not a detective or a xenobiologist. But he'd made a promise to a scared child, and Taewoo always kept his promises. 3 days had passed since Taewoo found Hana. 3 long days of searching and finding almost nothing. He'd converted his small apartment above the repair shop into a safe space for her. She slept in his bed while he took the couch. It wasn't much, but it was better than leaving her alone. Hana had started to trust him. She followed him everywhere, her small, crystalline hand always reaching for his when she felt scared. She'd taught him a few basic Valari hand signs: food, water, safe, afraid, mother. That last one she made constantly, her colors shifting to sad blue every time. Taewoo had searched everywhere he could think of. He'd asked around the station carefully, trying not to draw attention. Most people just shook their heads. Valari were mysterious, they said. Private. They didn't mix with other species much. He'd spent hours studying the patterns in Hana's crystalline skin. They definitely looked like star maps, but he couldn't make sense of them. The patterns kept shifting, responding to Hana's emotions. When she was calm, they formed clear geometric shapes. When she was upset, they swirled into chaos. On the 4th day, Taewoo decided he needed professional help. He knew someone who dealt in information, someone who could find things that didn't want to be found. Her name was Subin, and she ran a small data shop in the mid-levels of the station. "Stay close," Taewoo told Hana as they walked through the crowded market district. He'd wrapped her in a large coat with a hood to hide her distinctive appearance. Station security hadn't come looking yet, but he didn't want to take chances. Subin's shop was tucked between a spice merchant and a repair kiosk. The sign outside said Data Recovery Services, but everyone knew what she really did. Subin found information that people wanted to keep hidden. She was good at it too. The shop was small and cluttered with computer equipment. Subin sat behind a desk covered in data screens, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards at once. She was younger than Taewoo, maybe 25, with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. "Taewoo," she said without looking up, "you fixed my ship's cooling system last year and refused to overcharge me. I owe you a favor. I'm guessing you're here to collect?" "I need information," he said quietly. Subin finally looked up. Her eyes went straight to Hana, who peeked out from behind Taewoo's leg. "That's a Valari child. Please tell me you didn't steal her. I found her abandoned in a cargo hold. I'm trying to find her mother." Subin leaned back in her chair, studying them both. "The Valari don't abandon their children. Something's wrong here. Tell me everything." Taewoo explained the whole story. How he found Hana, how station records showed no missing Valari children, how G1's searches through official channels had turned up nothing. Subin listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious. "This smells bad," she said finally. "The Valari value privacy, but they wouldn't hide a missing child. Someone's manipulating the records. Give me a few hours. I'll dig deeper." While Subin worked, Taewoo took Hana to a quiet corner of the shop. He pulled out his datapad and showed her pictures of different station sectors, trying to see if she recognized anything. She touched the screen gently with her crystalline fingers, leaving small glowing prints behind. When she saw a picture of the diplomatic quarter, her whole body lit up bright yellow. She pointed at the screen urgently, making rapid hand gestures. "Yes? Yes? Mother. There. Your mother was in the diplomatic quarter?" Taewoo asked. Hana nodded so hard her whole body shimmered. 2 hours later, Subin called them back to her desk. Her face was grim. "I found something and you're not going to like it. 3 days ago, a Valari woman was detained by station security in the diplomatic quarter. The charge was unauthorized presence in a restricted area. She's listed under the name Nira." Taewoo's heart jumped. "Where is she now?" "That's the problem. After the initial detention, her records were sealed. Not by station security, by Galactic Council authority." Subin pulled up encrypted files on her screen. "I tried to crack the seal, but it's way above my clearance level. Whoever locked these records has serious power. Why would the Council care about one Valari woman?" Taewoo asked. Subin's fingers danced across her keyboard. "I asked myself the same question. So I did some cross-referencing. Your Valari woman Nira, she's not just anyone. She's a xenobiologist, a famous one. She's published research on crystalline-based life forms and their unique properties." Hana tugged on Taewoo's sleeve. He looked down at her. She was making hand signs frantically. "Smart. Mother. Smart. Help. Sick. People." "I think she's saying her mother helps sick people," Taewoo translated. "That fits," Subin said. "According to what I can find, Nira was researching treatments for crimson decay. That's the disease that's been spreading across multiple systems. Millions have died from it." "Why would they arrest someone trying to cure a disease?" Subin gave him a dark look. "Because cures aren't profitable. Treatments are. If Nira found an actual cure, she'd put a lot of very rich pharmaceutical companies out of business." Taewoo felt cold. "You're saying they arrested her to stop her research?" "I'm saying someone with enough power to seal Galactic Council records wanted her silenced." "And if they're willing to do that," Subin glanced at Hana, "they probably don't care about a witness. Even a child witness." The implications hit Taewoo like a physical blow. Hana wasn't just lost. She was in danger. Real danger. And if he kept helping her, he would be too. He looked down at Hana. She was watching him with those galaxy eyes, trusting him completely. Her colors had shifted to hopeful green when Subin mentioned her mother's name. "Can you find out where they're holding Nira?" he asked. "Taewoo, think about what you're doing," Subin warned. "If you go after her, you'll be going against people with serious power. They'll destroy you. Can you find her or not?" Subin stared at him for a long moment. Then she sighed. "You're either the bravest human I've ever met or the dumbest. Maybe both." Her fingers flew across the keyboard again. "Give me time. Finding sealed detention locations isn't easy. Come back tomorrow." As they left the shop, Taewoo's communicator buzzed. It was G1. "We need to talk. Now, somewhere private." They met in an abandoned storage area near the lower docking bays. G1 looked worried. more worried than Tae-woo had ever seen her. "Stop investigating," she said immediately. "Whatever you're doing, stop it now. What happened?" "I got called into my supervisor's office today. Someone flagged my searches about Valari on the station. I was told to drop it immediately and forget I ever looked. When I asked why, my supervisor said it was above my clearance level." Ji-won grabbed his arm. "Tae-woo, I've worked station security for 6 years. I've never been told that. Something big is happening and you're walking right into it." "Hana's mother is being held somewhere on the station," Tae-woo said. "I have to find her. Listen to yourself. You're talking about going against the Galactic Council. You're one person. What can you possibly do?" Tae-woo looked at Hana, who was standing quietly beside him. Her colors had faded to worried gray again. She could sense the tension even if she didn't understand the words. "I don't know what I can do," he admitted. "But I have to try. Look at her, Ji-won. She's dying without her mother. Every day she gets weaker. Those cracks in her skin are spreading. If I don't find Nira soon, Hana will die. I can't let that happen." Ji-won closed her eyes. "You're going to get yourself killed. Or worse, thrown in a council prison forever." "Maybe. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror." There was a long silence. Finally, Ji-won opened her eyes and let out a long breath. "Fine, I'll help where I can. But I have to be careful. If I lose my job, I can't help anyone. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You don't know what you're up against." Ji-won knelt down to Hana's level. "Hey, little one. We're going to find your mother. I promise." Hana's colors shifted to bright yellow, and she made the hand sign for thank you that Tae-woo had taught her. That night back in his apartment, Tae-woo couldn't sleep. He sat on the couch watching Hana rest in his bed. Her crystalline form glowed softly in the darkness, but the light was weaker than it had been when he first found her. The cracks in her skin had spread further. He thought about Ji-won's warnings. She was right. He was just one person, a mechanic with no power or influence. What made him think he could go against the Galactic Council? But then he thought about why he'd left Earth. His sister had died because a pharmaceutical company refused to provide medicine she needed. They said it was too expensive, that her insurance wouldn't cover it. He'd been helpless then, unable to do anything but watch her fade away. He wasn't helpless now. He could do something. He would do something. Hana stirred in her sleep, making small, distressed sounds. Tae-woo got up and sat beside the bed. He took her small crystalline hand in his and she calmed immediately. Her colors shifted to peaceful blue. "I'll find your mother," he whispered. "I promise. Whatever it takes." In the darkness, Hana's crystalline skin pulsed with soft light, and deep within those patterns that looked like star maps, something new began to form. A connection, a bond, not telepathic like the Valari shared, but something equally real. Trust. Subin called Tae-woo before dawn. Her voice was tight with urgency. "I found her. Nira is being held in a detention facility on level 43, section 12. That's the old mining level, supposed to be abandoned." Tae-woo sat up on his couch, immediately awake. "Are you sure? I tracked power consumption patterns. Someone's running a facility down there, using just enough energy to stay off the official monitoring systems. It's a black site, Tae-woo. Completely illegal." Subin paused. "There's something else. I found medical records. Valari children can't survive more than 7 days separated from their bonded parent. After that, their crystalline matrix collapses." "How long has it been?" 6 days. You have maybe 48 hours, probably less. Hana's already showing advanced deterioration." Tae-woo looked at Hana sleeping in his bed. The cracks in her crystalline skin had spread across her whole body now. Her inner light was so dim he could barely see it. She'd stopped eating yesterday and barely moved. "I'm going after Nira today," he said. "I was afraid you'd say that. I'll send you the facility schematics." "Tae-woo, this is heavily guarded. You can't do this alone, I know. I'm calling in every favor I have." By midday, Tae-woo had assembled a small team in his repair shop. It wasn't much, but it was all he had. Ji-won stood with her arms crossed, wearing civilian clothes instead of her security uniform. "I can't believe I'm doing this. If we get caught, I lose everything." "You don't have to come," Tae-woo said. "Yes, I do. Someone has to keep you alive." She looked at the others. "Let's be clear. This is illegal, dangerous, and probably stupid. Anyone wants to leave, now's the time." Nobody moved. Da-yoon was a human engineer who worked in the station's power systems. She was small, quiet, and could hack almost any security system. "I owe Tae-woo," she said simply. He helped my family when we first arrived at the station. I'm in. Jae-hyun was a former military pilot who now ran cargo between systems. He was older, with scars on his face and a calm confidence that came from years of combat experience. I saw what the Crimson Decay did to my home colony. If this Nira really has a cure, we need to get her out. Besides, I like a good fight. Subin appeared on a monitor screen, staying remote for safety. I'll handle the digital side. I've already started building backdoors into their security system. But someone has to get inside physically to access the main terminal. Hyun-woo, a station administrator who'd worked with Tae-woo before, had provided access codes and distraction schedules. He wasn't coming on the mission, but his help had been crucial. I can give you a 30-minute window when security patrols will be minimal, he'd said. After that, you're on your own. Tae-woo spread out the facility schematics on his workbench. The detention cells are here in the center of the complex. There are 2 ways in. The main entrance is too heavily guarded, but there's a maintenance tunnel here that connects to the old mining systems. How old? Jae-hyun asked. 50 years, maybe more. Could be unstable. Great, unstable tunnels full of guards trying to kill us. Sounds perfect. Daeun leaned over the schematics. The security system runs on a closed network. I'll need to physically access a terminal inside to shut it down. That means we need to get past the first checkpoint without triggering alarms. I can do that, Ji-won said. I still have my security codes. They won't work on the main systems, but they should get us past basic locks. Tae-woo looked at each of them. These people were risking everything to help a child they barely knew. Thank you, he said quietly. All of you. Save it for when we survive, Jae-hyun said. Let's go over this plan one more time. They spent 2 hours preparing. Daeun built special equipment to bypass security. Jae-hyun checked weapons, choosing non-lethal options that wouldn't kill, but would stop attackers. Ji-won memorized guard patrol patterns. Subin created digital diversions. Tae-woo prepared Hana. She was barely conscious now, her crystalline form so dim it looked like clouded glass. He wrapped her in blankets and made a carrier so he could keep her close. We're going to find your mother, he told her. Just hold on a little longer. Hana's hand moved weakly, making the sign for mother. Her colors flickered once, a faint yellow, then faded back to gray. They entered the maintenance tunnels at midnight. The passage was narrow and dark, lit only by emergency lights that barely worked. Water dripped from old pipes. The air smelled of rust and decay. Jae-hyun led the way, weapon ready. Ji-won was right behind him, followed by Da-yoon. Tae-woo came last, carrying Hana carefully. Every step felt like it took forever. Security checkpoint ahead. Subin's voice crackled through their earpieces. 2 guards. They're not paying attention, probably bored. You have 60 seconds. Ji-won moved forward silently. She used her security codes on the door lock. It beeped once, then opened. The guards barely had time to react before Jae-hyun and Ji-won neutralized them with stun weapons. Clear, Ji-won whispered. They moved deeper into the facility. Dae-yoon stopped at a maintenance panel and connected her equipment. Her fingers flew across a small keyboard, lines of code scrolling across her screen. Security cameras are looping now, she said. We're invisible for the next 10 minutes. The detention level was cold and sterile. Rows of cells lined both sides of a long corridor. Most were empty. Tae-woo's heart pounded as they checked each one. Then he saw her. Nira sat in a cell at the end of the corridor. She looked like an adult version of Hana, her crystalline form tall and elegant. But her colors were wrong, shifting between deep purple and black. She looked up as they approached, and her galaxy eyes went wide. Hana! The word came out as a sound like crystal chimes, desperate and heartbroken. Tae-woo carried Hana to the cell door. I found your daughter. Can you help us get you out? Before Nira could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. We've been discovered, Subin's voice shouted through the earpiece. Someone override my hack. You have incoming. Daeun, get that cell open now, Jae-hyun ordered, taking a defensive position. Daeun worked frantically at the cell's lock panel. It's a biometric system. I need more time. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Lots of them. Then a voice called out, cold and amused. Did you really think it would be this easy? A figure stepped into view. He was Chromath, a reptilian species known for their strength and ruthlessness. Tae-woo recognized him from station records. Vexel, the security chief who'd been blocking Ji-won's investigations. The mechanic and his friends, Vexel said, flanked by a dozen heavily armed guards. So predictable. We've been waiting for you. This is illegal, Ji-won shouted. You're holding a council researcher without charges. The council knows exactly where she is, Vexel said calmly. Or rather, certain council members do. The ones who understand that some cures are too dangerous to release. You're murdering millions for profit, Taewoo said, rage burning through his fear. I'm protecting the economic stability of multiple systems. The pharmaceutical industry employs billions. What's a few million deaths compared to that? Vexel raised his weapon. Now you'll all come quietly or I'll kill you here. Starting with the child. Taewoo moved in front of Hana instinctively. No. No? Vexel laughed. You're brave for a human. Stupid but brave. Last chance, Jae-hyun's weapon came up. Ji-won moved beside him. They were outnumbered 6-1, with no cover and no escape route. Then something unexpected happened. Hana, barely conscious in Taewoo's arms, suddenly began to glow. Bright, brilliant light poured from her crystalline form. At the same moment, Nira in her cell started glowing too, even brighter. The bond, Daeun shouted. They're connecting. The light grew blinding. Taewoo felt Hana's small body vibrating, resonating with some frequency he couldn't hear. The cell door in front of them cracked, then shattered. Nira stepped out and her light merged with Hana's. The wave of telepathic energy that burst from them was invisible but devastating. Every electronic system in the sector shut down instantly. Lights died, weapons sparked and went dead. Even Vexel's armor systems failed. In the chaos and darkness, Nira reached for her daughter. The moment they touched, their crystalline forms blazed with light so intense, Taewoo had to look away. Run, Jae-hyun shouted. While they're blind. They ran through the darkness, guided only by the light from Nira and Hana. Behind them, Vexel screamed orders, but his guards were stumbling in the blackout, their equipment useless. The team made it back to the maintenance tunnels. Subin guided them through their earpieces, using backup power systems. Get to docking bay 7, she said. Jae-hyun's ship is ready to launch. They ran through winding corridors, up service ladders, across catwalks. Guards appeared, but Ji-won and Jae-hyun fought them off. Taeyun hacked doors open ahead of them, and all the while Nira carried Hana, the child glowing brighter with every second. They burst into the docking bay just as station-wide alarms began to sound. Jae-hyun's cargo ship waited with engines already warm. Go, 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 he shouted, ushering everyone aboard. The ship lifted off as security forces poured into the bay. Weapons fire sparked against the hull, but Jae-hyun was already pushing the engines. They shot out of the docking bay and into open space. Only when they were clear of the station did everyone finally breathe. Taewoo collapsed against a bulkhead, exhausted. Across from him, Nira sat with Hana in her arms. The child's crystalline form was healing rapidly. Cracks sealing, light growing stronger. Her colors shifted through the rainbow, settling on pure gold. Nira looked at Taewoo with those galaxy eyes. When she spoke, her voice was like music. You saved my daughter. You risked everything for a child of another species. Why? Taewoo was too tired to think of a complicated answer. Because it was the right thing to do. Nira stared at him for a long moment. Then she bowed her head, a gesture of deep respect. The Valari will remember this. I will remember this. Ji-won slumped down beside Taewoo. We're fugitives now, all of us. They'll hunt us across the galaxy. I know, Taewoo said. Was it worth it? He looked at Hana, now glowing bright and healthy in her mother's arms. The child saw him watching and made the hand sign for thank you, her colors dancing with joy. Yes, Taewoo said. It was worth it. Jae-hyun's cargo ship drifted in empty space, far from any major shipping lanes. They'd been running for 2 days, constantly changing course to avoid pursuit. Everyone was exhausted, living on emergency rations and little sleep. Taewoo sat in the small galley, drinking bad coffee and trying to make sense of everything. Across from him, Nira held Hana, who was finally healthy again. The child's crystalline form glowed with steady, bright light. The cracks had healed completely. She was playing with her mother's fingers, making small, happy sounds. We need to talk, Nira said quietly. You deserve to know the truth about what you've gotten involved in. The others gathered in the galley. Ji-won, Daeun, Jae-hyun, and Subin joining via video link. Everyone looked grim and tired. Nira took a deep breath. The crimson decay isn't a natural disease. It was created, silence. Then Ji-won spoke, her voice dangerous. Created by who? A group of pharmaceutical corporations that work together in secret. They call themselves the Syndicate. 50 years ago, they engineered the Crimson Decay and released it into multiple systems. Not enough to kill everyone, just enough to create a permanent market for their treatments. That's genocide, Daun whispered, horrified. It's business, Nira said bitterly. They've made trillions selling treatments that don't cure, only manage symptoms. Millions die, but millions more keep buying their medicine. It's the perfect crime. Tewu felt sick. And you found a cure? 6 months ago, I discovered that Valari crystalline biology contains compounds that can completely eliminate the Crimson Decay. Not just treat it. Cure it forever. Nira's colors shifted to angry red. I was about to publish my findings when the Syndicate found out. They've been hunting Valari scientists ever since, killing us or imprisoning us. Why Valari specifically? Jae-hyun asked. Because we're rare, private, and nobody pays attention when we disappear. The Syndicate has eliminated 17 Valari researchers in the past 6 months. I was the last one in this sector with complete research data. Subin's face on the screen went pale. My sister died of Crimson Decay 3 years ago. The medicine cost everything our family had, and it didn't even save her. You're telling me she died because of corporate greed? Yes, Nira said simply. I'm sorry. Subin's hands clenched into fists. Her voice shook with rage. I've been gathering evidence on pharmaceutical price manipulation for years. I always knew something was wrong, but I could never prove it. If I combine my evidence with your research, we could expose the entire conspiracy, Nira finished. But we need to transmit the data to the Galactic Council's Independent Oversight Committee. They're the only authority that can't be bought by the Syndicate. How do we do that? Tewu asked. We need access to a primary communication array, strong enough to break through Syndicate jamming and reach the Council directly. Jiwon shook her head. Every major station and planet has those arrays, but they're all under tight security, especially now that we're wanted fugitives. What about Meridian Station? Daeun suggested. We know the layout. We have contacts there. It's the most dangerous option, Jiwon said. They'll be watching for us. It's also our best option, Jae-hyun countered. And we don't have time to go anywhere else. The Syndicate knows we have Nira. They'll be mobilizing everything to stop us. Tewu thought about his small repair shop, his quiet life. Just a week ago, his biggest worry was fixing engines and paying rent. Now he was in the middle of a galactic conspiracy. We need help from inside the station, he said. Someone with authority. I might know someone, Jiwon said slowly. Station Director Choi Young-suk. She's been suspicious of Syndicate activity for months, but she couldn't prove anything. If we bring her solid evidence, she could help us. Tewu finished. Subin started typing frantically. I'm sending Director Choi an encrypted message now. If she agrees to meet, we'll know within the hour. While they waited, Hana climbed into Taiwu's lap. She was so much healthier now, her colors bright and playful. She made hand signs asking for food, and he smiled despite everything. You like him? Nira observed, watching her daughter. She's a good kid, Taiwu said, offering Hana a ration bar. I mean, she's bonded with you. It's rare for Valari children to bond with non-telepathic species. She considers you family now. Taiwu looked down at Hana in surprise. She smiled up at him, her colors shifting to warm gold. Family? In her mind, you're her uncle, the one who saved her life. Nira's expression softened. I owe you more than I can ever repay. You risked everything for my child. Most species wouldn't do that, even for their own kind. Humans are stubborn that way, Jae-hyun said with a slight smile. When we decide something is right, we don't quit. The message response came 43 minutes later. Director Choi agreed to meet them, but only if they came to her private residence outside station jurisdiction. She was taking a huge risk even talking to them. They approached Meridian Station carefully, using false identification codes that Subin had created. The station looked the same as always, massive and bustling with ships. But Taewu knew that somewhere in there, Vexel and his people were hunting for them. Director Choi's residence was on a small private platform, tethered to the station's outer ring. They docked and were immediately scanned by heavy security systems. The director met them in her study, an elegant woman in her 50s with sharp, intelligent eyes. She looked at each of them carefully, her gaze lingering on Nira and Hana. I've risked my career agreeing to this meeting, she said without preamble. This had better be worth it. Nira stepped forward. Director Choi, I have proof that the Crimson Decay is an artificial plague created by the Syndicate. I also have a cure. If you help us transmit this information to the Council Oversight Committee, we can save billions of lives. And destroy the most powerful corporations in the galaxy, Choi added. Do you understand what you're asking? The Syndicate has influence everywhere. Council members, planetary governments, military leaders. If we do this, they'll come for all of us. They're already coming for us, Ji-won said. At least this way their crimes will be exposed. Choi walked to her window, looking out at the station. I've suspected Syndicate corruption for years. I've watched good people die because they couldn't afford medicine. I've seen council members block investigations for no good reason. She turned back to them. I want to help, but I need to see the evidence first. Nira and Subin spent the next hour presenting everything. Research data, financial records, communications between Syndicate executives, lists of murdered Valari scientists. Choi's face grew darker with every piece of evidence. This is worse than I imagined, she said finally. This is systematic genocide for profit. If this becomes public, it will shake the entire galaxy. Will you help us? Tae-woo asked. Choi looked at him for a long moment. You're just a mechanic. You had no reason to get involved in this. Why did you? Because Hana needed help, Tae-woo said simply. And because doing nothing would make me just as guilty as the people who created this disease. A mechanic with a conscience, Choi said. How refreshing. She made her decision. I'll help you. But we need to do this carefully. The station's primary communication array is in the central tower. It's heavily guarded, and access requires council-level authorization. Which you have, Da-eun said. Which I have. But the moment we start transmitting, the Syndicate will know. They'll send everything they have to stop us. How long do we need? Jae-hyun asked. The data package is enormous, Subin said. Full transmission will take at least 30 minutes, possibly more. We'll need to hold the tower for 30 minutes against whatever the Syndicate throws at us. Jae-hyun calculated. That's not a battle. That's a siege. I can mobilize loyal security forces, Choi said. But I don't know how many of my people are compromised by the Syndicate. We might be outnumbered. We've been outnumbered since this started, Ji-won said. We'll manage. Tae-woo looked around at this group of people. A station director, a security officer, an engineer, a pilot, an information dealer, a Valari scientist, and a mechanic. Against the most powerful corporations in the galaxy. When do we start, he asked. Tonight, Choi said. The Syndicate is mobilizing a fleet. They'll be here in 3 days. If we're going to do this, it has to be now. As they prepared to leave, Hana tugged on Tae-woo's sleeve. She made hand signs asking a question, scared, safe, win. Are we scared? Yes, Tae-woo answered honestly. Will we be safe? I don't know. Will we win? He looked at Nira, then at his friends. We have to. Hana's colors shifted through several shades before settling on determined blue. She made another sign. Help. Fight. No, little one, Tae-woo said gently. You stay safe with your mother. This is too dangerous, but Nira shook her head. She's saying the Valari will help fight. She's not asking permission. She's telling you what her people will do. How? We haven't even contacted them. Nira's crystalline form glowed softly. We don't need to. Every Valarian range has felt what happened to Hana. They felt her terror, her pain, and her rescue. They know a human saved a Valari child at great personal risk. Her colors shifted to something Tae-woo had never seen before, like starlight. The Valari are coming, and they are very, very angry. The central tower of Meridian Station rose through multiple levels, a massive structure of metal and glass that housed the primary communication systems. Tae-woo stood at its base, looking up at what they needed to defend for 30 minutes. It seemed impossible. Director Choi had mobilized every security officer she trusted. About 200 people. Out of a security force of 1,000, the rest were either compromised by the Syndicate or too afraid to act. It wasn't enough, but it was all they had. Syndicate forces are moving into position, Ji-won reported, studying tactical displays. Mercenary companies, private security, even some corrupted council guards. They have at least 600 armed personnel, plus automated defense systems. And they'll get reinforcements, Jae-hyun added grimly. Their fleet will arrive in 8 hours. If we're still fighting by then, we lose. Then we don't fight for 8 hours, Choi said. We hold for 30 minutes, transmit the data, and get out. Subin was already at the communication array's main terminal, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. Nira stood beside her, preparing to upload the encrypted research data. The cure for Crimson Decay. The evidence of the Syndicate's crimes. Everything that could change the galaxy. How long until we can start transmission? Choi asked. 5 minutes to establish a secure channel to the Council Oversight Committee, Subin said. Then 32 minutes for the full data upload. Any interruption and we have to start over. Hana sat in a corner with 2 Valari adults who'd arrived an hour earlier. They'd come in response to the telepathic distress call that all Valari felt when Hana was separated from Nira. More were coming, they said. Many more. Taewoo checked his equipment. He wasn't a soldier, just a mechanic with a stun weapon and improvised armor made from spare ship parts. But he'd come this far. He wasn't backing down now. They're coming, Dawn announced from the sensor station. Multiple groups approaching from all levels. Everyone to positions, Choi ordered. Remember, we just need to buy time. The first attack came 3 minutes later. Syndicate mercenaries rushed the tower's ground entrance, weapons blazing. Choi's security forces met them with defensive fire. The sound was deafening. Taewoo fired his weapon at attackers trying to flank their position. He wasn't a great shot, but at this range it didn't matter. The enemies fell back, regrouped, attacked again. They're testing our defenses, Jaehyun shouted over the noise. The real assault is coming, he was right. 5 minutes into the fight, the Syndicate forces hit them from 3 directions at once. Ground level, mid-level access points, and aerial drones. The defenders were pushed back, giving up the outer perimeter. We can't hold them, a security officer shouted. We don't need to hold them everywhere, Ji-won responded. Fall back to the tower entrance. Concentrate our fire. They retreated in good order, setting up a defensive line at the tower's main doors. The narrower entrance worked in their favor, limiting how many attackers could advance at once. But it wasn't enough. The Syndicate forces had numbers, better weapons, and no hesitation about using lethal force. Choi's people were security officers, not soldiers. They were being overwhelmed. Subin, how long? Taewoo called out. Transmission started. 28 minutes remaining. 28 minutes. It might as well be forever. An explosion rocked the entrance. The Syndicate had brought heavy weapons. Part of the defensive line collapsed. Defenders scrambled to fill the gap, but more mercenaries poured through. Taewoo saw Ji-won go down, hit in the shoulder. He ran to her, dragging her to cover while firing blindly behind him. Taeyun appeared, providing covering fire while she pulled Ji-won to safety. I'm fine, Ji-won gasped, clutching her injured shoulder. Get back to the line, but the line was breaking. Too many enemies, too much firepower. They'd lasted 15 minutes. They wouldn't make it to 30. Then the lights went out, not just the tower lights. Every light on Meridian Station died at once. Emergency systems failed. Weapons powered down. Everything electronic simply stopped working. In the sudden darkness, Taewoo heard a sound like crystal chimes singing. It grew louder, filling the air with haunting harmony. Then light bloomed, but not from any human source. Ships appeared in space around Meridian Station. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They were crystalline, beautiful, glowing with inner light. Valari ships more than had been seen in civilized space for over a century. The Concordat has arrived, Nira said quietly, her voice filled with awe and pride. The Valari are here. The telepathic pulse that swept through the station was like nothing Taewoo had ever felt. It wasn't painful, but it was overwhelming. Every electronic system shut down, friend and foe alike. Weapons died. Communications failed. Even the Syndicate's fleet approaching the station lost power and drifted helplessly. In the darkness, the Valari came. They flowed into the tower like living light, their crystalline forms glowing bright enough to see by. They weren't armed in any conventional sense. They didn't need to be. Their very presence disabled technology, and their telepathic abilities left Syndicate mercenaries unconscious where they stood. Vexel tried to rally his forces, but it was hopeless. The Valari moved through them like a tide of starlight, unstoppable and serene. They didn't kill anyone. They simply rendered all resistance impossible. Within 10 minutes, every Syndicate force on the station was neutralized. Their weapons were useless. Their technology failed. They could only surrender or sleep. Transmission at 50%, Subin called out, working on backup power systems that somehow still functioned. The Valari had allowed certain systems to remain active. 15 minutes remaining. The Valari ships formed a protective sphere around Meridian Station. When the Syndicate fleet arrived from deep space, they found themselves facing the entire Valari Concordat. The most advanced, mysterious, and powerful species in the galaxy, roused to anger for the first time in 1,000 years. The Syndicate fleet didn't even try to fight. They withdrew, broadcasting surrender signals. In the tower, Tae-Woo watched the data transmission continue. Nira's cure uploading to the Council Oversight Committee. Subin's evidence of Syndicate crimes spreading across the galactic network. Truth finally being told. An elderly Valari approached him, moving with grace despite obvious age. Their crystalline form was white as snow, shot through with veins of gold. When they spoke, their voice resonated in Tae-Woo's mind as much as his ears. "You are the human who saved the child Hana." It wasn't a question. Tae-Woo nodded. "I am Keeper Tal, leader of the Valari Concordat. I have come to thank you and to deliver judgment." Judgment? The Valari withdraw from galactic affairs centuries ago because we saw too much greed, too much cruelty. We believed the young races needed time to grow wise. Tal's colors shifted to sad purple. We were wrong. In our absence, evil flourished. A child of our people nearly died because we did not watch, did not protect, did not act. "It's not your fault," Tae-Woo said. "You couldn't have known. But you knew. You saw a child in danger and you acted. Not because it benefited you, not because it was safe, simply because it was right." Tal's crystalline hand touched Tae-Woo's chest gently. "Do you understand what you have done, young human? I helped a lost girl find her mother. You have reminded the Valari why we once cared about the galaxy. You have shown us that honor still exists among the younger species, and you have saved more lives than you can imagine." The transmission completed. A soft chime indicated the data had been received and verified by the Council Oversight Committee. All of it, the cure, the evidence, everything. Subin leaned back in her chair, tears streaming down her face. "It's done. It's all out there now. They can't hide it anymore." Across the galaxy, the truth spread. The Syndicate's crimes were exposed. The artificial nature of Crimson Decay was proven beyond doubt. Nira's cure was verified and immediately put into production. The Council Oversight Committee moved with unprecedented speed, issuing arrest warrants for hundreds of corporate executives and corrupted officials. The Syndicate collapsed within days. Some members tried to flee, but the Valari found them. Justice, slow but certain, began to roll across civilized space. On Meridian Station, medics treated the wounded. Security forces arrested Vexel and his co-conspirators. Choi coordinated with the council, providing testimony and evidence, and Tae-Woo sat on a bench outside the tower, exhausted beyond measure. Hana climbed into his lap, glowing bright and happy. She made hand signs rapidly, telling him everything that had happened from her perspective. Nira sat beside them. "The Concordat has declared a luminous debt to you, Tae-Woo. Do you know what that means?" "Not really." "In our 40,000-year history, it has been declared only twice before. It means the entire Valari species considers itself obligated to you. Whatever you need, whatever you want, we will provide. Your species will have access to our technology, our knowledge, our protection." Tae-Woo looked at her in shock. "I don't want all that. I just wanted to help Hana, which is precisely why you deserve it." Nira's colors shifted to warm gold. "Humanity has been given a great gift today. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through simple kindness." Over the next weeks, the galaxy changed. The cure for Crimson Decay was distributed freely, saving billions of lives. Subin's sister became a symbol of all those lost to corporate greed, her name spoken with honor. The Syndicate's assets were seized and used to compensate victims. The Valari ended their isolation. They established formal relations with humanity, sharing technology and knowledge that would advance human civilization by centuries. Humans were granted a permanent seat on the Galactic Council, sponsored by the Valari. Director Choi was promoted to the Council Oversight Committee, where she worked to prevent future conspiracies. Jiwon became head of Meridian Station Security, rebuilding the department from the ground up. Taeyun and Jae-hyun married and now captain a joint human-Valari exploration vessel. Subin runs a legitimate information service ensuring transparency in galactic affairs. And Tae-Woo? He declined every award, every interview, every political position offered to him. He went back to his repair shop in the lower docking bays of Meridian Station, now expanded into a joint human-Valari cooperative hub. 5 years later, he still fixes ships. He still works with his hands. He still lives in a small apartment. But now Hana visits him every day after her engineering classes. She's a teenager now, brilliant and brave, studying to be a ship designer. Nira serves as Valari ambassador to humanity. She often asks Taewoo for advice, which he finds hilarious and uncomfortable. One afternoon, a young human arrives at Meridian Station for the first time. He stands in the crowded market district, overwhelmed by the diversity of species, lost and uncertain. Taewoo notices him struggling and walks over with a kind smile. "First time on a big station?" he asks. The young man nods, relieved to see another human. "I don't know where to go or what to do. This place is so big." "It can be intimidating," Taewoo agrees. "But you'll figure it out. Come on, I'll show you around. Maybe help you find what you're looking for." As they walk through the crowded market, Hana joins them, glowing bright and cheerful. She makes hand signs at the newcomer, welcoming him to the station. She says welcome, Taewoo translates, and that if you need any help, just ask. That's what we do here. The young man looks around at the diverse species moving through the station, humans and aliens working together, living together, building something new together. "Is it always like this here?" he asks. Taewoo thinks about everything that happened 5 years ago. The fear, the danger, the desperate fight to do what was right. He thinks about how one small act of kindness changed the galaxy. Not always, he says honestly. But we try. That's what humanity does. We try to help even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Hana's colors shift to proud gold as she looks up at her uncle, the human who saved her life, the mechanic who changed the galaxy, the man who taught the Valari that honor still existed among the young species. And Taewoo smiles because in the end, that's all he ever wanted to be. Someone who helped when help was needed. That's what humans do.